Pekudei, this week Shabbat is Parashat HaChodesh. We read Parashat HaChodesh. Chodesh means the new moon. Chodesh hazeh lachem rosh chodashim. This month is the head of all the months. What's the first mitzvah in the Torah? Rosh Chodesh. If you think about it, what is the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh? What's the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh? How is Rosh Chodesh decided? By the moon, but who decides? Beis Din decides. If you remember Rashi in the beginning of Parshas Bereshis, he says that really we should have started the Torah from HaChodesh hazeh lachem rosh chodashim. Why is he saying that? Because this is the first mitzvah in the Torah that is halachot. Till now wasn't how you're supposed to live. What's the message of Parashat HaChodesh? I had this, I think it's a beautiful concept. Who decides how to use out the Torah? Beis Din, the tzaddikim, the Talmidei Chachamim. The first message, everybody goes, why did they do this? Why did they do this gezerah? How do they know this is the pshat? You always have these questions. There's one answer. Hashem said, this is for your decision. HaChodesh hazeh lachem rosh chodashim. If you know the Gemara between Rosh Hashanah and Tzah, we learned all these things. What does the Gemara say? If they decide, could you imagine, they come and it's about to be Rosh Chodesh Nisan this Sunday, right? They have a meeting Friday morning and they say, you know what? It's too early, Nisan. You know, the Muslims, we always talk about that. They have Ramadan always the 12th month. But it's always the 12th month. So every year it goes 11 days early. We, every 3 years, Berach, we have a leap year. That we decided that we don't want to be chaos with our holidays. So we always have a leap year. So now they have Beis Din sits down, they have a meeting. And they sit down together and they say, you know what? Pesach's going to be too early this year. What do? They add another month. What happens if a guy walks in and he says, you know what? I don't like this that they added another month. I want to go with the regular months. I'm not going to eat chametz that month. You know what he's doing? He's mishiking it. Because the next month, he's going to eat chametz. And that's really the month of Pesach. And then Yom Kippur comes out differently. And Rosh Hashanah comes out differently. So they made a whole chaos in the whole year based on what the Chachamim decided. The Gemara says also they could say to the Edim, wait, we don't want to make it tomorrow. It's too late in the day. Remember we learned in the Gemara? It's too late in the day. We don't want to change anything. We'll do Rosh Chodesh tomorrow. What do you mean? It's Rosh Chodesh. Hashem says, you are the ones who decide. So the first mitzvah in the Torah is based on Emunus Chachamim. So you see, there must be that the Emunus Chachamim is the Yesod in keeping the Torah. And keeping the mitzvot of the Torah and how to do it. Like, you know the Tzdukim. The Tzdukim said, when is going to be the holiday? Machorat HaShabbat. Shavuot is going to be Machorat HaShabbat. What does Machorat HaShabbat mean? In the literal type? Sunday. But we know that it doesn't mean Sunday. They say that we put tefillin where? Over here. We know where does it mean? Over there. They say you're not allowed to, last week's parasha says you're not allowed to burn fire in your house. What does it mean you're not allowed to burn fire? You're not allowed to start a fire. But are you allowed to have a fire in your house? For sure. The Tzdukim didn't have a fire in their house. Torah was given over to the Chachamim. And if you start off without that belief, the whole Torah falls apart. That's why the whole first mitzvah, Chodesh hazeh lachem rosh chodashim, is the first mitzvah in the Torah. Kazer Eva Kadesh. Moshe Rabbeinu had a hard time exactly how to know different angles, which part, if it's on low, it's on a high, if the world is turning a different way. Hashem showed him to do it. But who is it given over to decide? Chachamim. Fascinating concept. There's a beautiful word from the Reb Chaim Volozhiner that I have a good friend. He's a Rosh Yeshiva in Lakewood, and I told it to him, and he called me back the next day. He says, "You gave me parnasah." So I said, "What does it mean, parnasah? What is a Rebbe's parnasah?" When he has a good when he has a good thing to tell the kids the next day in the Beit Medrash. So he told me I gave parnasah. It says, "Ele Pekudei HaMishkan." Pekudei, this is the counting of the Mishkan, which is Mishkan HaEdut. It's the tabernacles, it's the edifice that is a testimony. Asher Pukad Al Pi Moshe, that was led by the orders of Moshe Rabbeinu to build. Avodat Halviyim, it was done with all the Leviim. Biyad Itamar ben Aaron HaKohen, he was in charge to designate to every person, every family, what his job is. First of all, you know, what's a good manager? The manager gets paid the most. Who works the least?
The manager.
The manager. But what's the kaich of a manager?
Make sure everyone else is working.
He knows, no, not make sure yet. He knows how to delegate power. He knows how to give, you do this job, you're good for this job. He studies you, he knows you, this is what you should do, that's what you should do. Because if you don't have a good manager, the whole business can go corrupt. So that she says, it says, Ele Pekudei Mishkan, Mishkan HaEdut. Mishkan, 2 times. Right? Right away that she says, Remez, Lemikdash, Shenitmashken. Hashem took the Mishkan as a collateral. What is a collateral? Let's say I lend you $1,000. You have a watch that's worth $1,000. I take the watch from you, and when you give me back the money, I give the watch back. Bishnei Churbanim. Hashem gave the Beit HaMikdash to us. The interesting thing is, who's the one who gave us the Beit HaMikdash? Hashem. But once he gave it to us, it became ours. But when we sinned, Hashem took it away as a collateral. Shenitmashken b'shnei churbanim al avonotehem shel Yisrael. Hashem took it as a collateral. If you realize it, this is like the funniest thing. Who built the Mishkan? It says Moshe Rabbeinu built the Mishkan, but in all practical purposes, we're going to discuss it a little bit. Who actually put it together? Moshe Rabbeinu says he can't do it. It's too heavy, right? He had beams that trucks couldn't move. So Hashem said, just go, and Hashem made a miracle. But Hashem used the Beit HaMikdash both times as collaterals. Whenever we sinned, Hashem took it away, and Be'ezat Hashem, when we do Teshuvah, we're going to get back the Mishkan, and we're going to get back the Mikdash. When we pay our debts back, we're going to get. Ask Reb Chaim Volozhiner a question, and everybody, if you hear this, is worth it everything. Does anybody remember what the Haftarah we read on every Shabbat? Rachem al Tzion ki bet chayenu. Rachem al Tzion. Hashem, please have Rachmanut on Tzion. Tzion is always referred to the Beit HaMikdash, Yerushalayim. Kihi bet chayenu. That's our source of livelihood. When Klal Yisrael had the Beit HaMikdash, everything was surrounded around Beit HaMikdash. Everything was surrounded on, we're going there, we're coming, what's going on. You know, by Hasidim, they have a concept that the whole Hasidut is around the rabbi. When's the rabbi? Every, like you have in Satma, Bel, the square, they give out pamphlets of what the Rebbe did that day. Reuven came to visit him Tuesday. He went Wednesday to visit someone else. He went Thursday to bake matzahs. You ever saw them? They give the whole. One time I went to the square Rebbe, somebody showed me the paper that it was said that I came to visit the square Rebbe. Why? Because they have documented any person that came to visit. If he went there, if he went to visit somebody, he paid a shiva call, and what was the conversation about. What do you think the Jewish people were busy with before the Churban of the Beis HaMikdash? The Beis HaMikdash. When are you going? Who's going there? Who donated? All of a sudden, somebody made a big donation, and they did the doors. There was a people by the whole Jewish nation. It wasn't just something that they went to check in and check out. You had to go 3 times a year to the Beis HaMikdash, come back home. It wasn't like that. When you went to the Beis HaMikdash, it was your life. You woke up thinking about the Beis HaMikdash. You went to sleep thinking about Beis HaMikdash. Ki hi bet chayenu. What does it mean, bet chayenu? They called Chabad bet chayenu. Why? Because a person, his whole life is around the Rebbe, around coming and going, and who's coming, and what function is going on that week. It was the ultimate of our real life was Bet HaMikdash. Now there's a halacha like this. There's a pasuk in the Chumash. Ki tasher bereacha mashat me'uma. If a person has a loan, lo tavo el beto la'avot avoto, you're not allowed to come to his house to take a collateral. What do? Bachutz ta'amod, you have to wait outside. Va'ish asher ata lo shebo, and the person that owes you the money, yotzi elecha et ha'avot hachutza. He has to take out the collateral outside to bring it to you. Don't go into his house, it's going to be uncomfortable for him. You bring it outside to him. V'im ish anihu, and if he's a person that's poor, lo tishkav ba'avoto, you took his pillows. You're not allowed to use his pillows as a collateral at night. What do? Hashev tashiv lo et ha'avot kevo hashemesh. At night, you have to give him back his collateral. V'shachad v'salmato, and he'll go it, and he'll use it, u'beracheka, and he'll bless you, u'lchat tiyeh tzedakah. The reason is, ki nefesh hu chovel. By you keeping the collateral, you're taking away his life. So if he needs it for himself to live, then you must give back the collateral. Says Reb Chaim Volozhin a question: if the Bet HaMikdash was our source of life, how was Hashem allowed to take it away as a collateral? You're only allowed to take away a collateral in a case of what? You're only allowed to take a collateral when the guy doesn't need it. If you took a collateral, his how are you? If you took a collateral, his pillow, what do you do with the pillow? You got to give it back to him at night. Why?
He needs it.
What? You have to give it back to him at night. Why do you have to give it back to him at night? Because he needs it. Now the Bet HaMikdash, Rachem al Tziki Beis Chayenu, it's my source of life. That's what keeps me alive. So why don't we get it back? Says Reb Chaim Volozhin that if people really believed that their way of life is damaged by them not having a Bet HaMikdash, Hashem would have to give it back to us. You hear this? If we really believed, there's a famous story that a Rav speaking in shul, her husband comes home from shul, and she asks him, my dear husband, what did the rabbi speak about today? He says how we have to yearn to go move to the Beit HaMikdash. And Hashem should build the Beit HaMikdash, and a person has to have that feeling that God. She says, I don't understand, we just put in a brand new $100,000 kitchen. Well, why is he, the rabbi, telling us go to Beit HaMikdash? Tell the rabbi he can move there, I'm not moving there. Sometimes people think like that. They have a beautiful house, they have a beautiful everything, they just made a big deal, and they bought a $3 million home in West Broadway, and they redid another kitchen for another $50,000, and they put they made it look like a Beit HaMikdash with a whole entranceway with gates, like for Horace Hills, the way they make it with all those gates, like it's like a mafia house. And then you go tell the guy, you know what? You don't want to really be here. So what are you crazy around? This Gan Eden in this house. So do you really want Beit HaMikdash? You go, yeah. You know when a person says, oh, we need Mashiach? When something's going terrible in their lives, who do they blame it on? Mashiach. When there's a war, there's Mashiach. All of a sudden you need Mashiach. But everybody really wants Mashiach. Says Reb Chaim Volozhin, if we really wanted Mashiach, it would have to come, because Hashem calls it a collateral. It's a mashkon. We say ki beis chayenu, that's our life, but only if you believe that it's your life. But if a guy says, yeah, you know what, I don't need the pillow, I have other pillows, do you have to give it back to him at night? No. You got it? You only have to give him back the pillow when he says, I need the pillow. But if he doesn't say, I need the pillow, what do? Keep it. If a guy's a millionaire and he has an Apple Watch, has 3 of them, there's 3 Rolexes. And he comes and he gives you a loan, and he says, you know what? Here's one of my watches. You don't have to give it back to him. He doesn't need it, so what? So he's going to keep it in the safe. Well, he gives it to you, and you keep it in the safe. And when he has the $10,000, he brings it back to you. Isn't that fair? Says the pasuk, it has to be a mashkin, because if it's your life, have a back certificate. If you believe that it's your life, then Hashem has to give it back to you. If you don't believe it's your life, then Hashem doesn't give it back. Okay. It says there's a beautiful Bala Turim in this week's parasha. The Bala Turim, if you realize, it says, Uvtzalel ben Uri ben Chul Matei Yehuda, V'tzalel did, Asad kol asher tziva Hashem et Moshe, did everything what God commanded Moshe.
So, I'm sorry, that's why it says the pillow, not anything else that's valuable to him.
Right.
Because if he had something valuable, he would give it. This is the last thing that he has. If he's going to borrow $1,000,
and he had
nothing,
and he had the watch, he would have told him the watch.
Yeah, but
he's so poor that he needs to give him his pillow at night. Very good. And he's giving him his pillow at night, and he's saying, you can still give it back to him. Why? Because ki nefesh hu chover. Because otherwise he can't function. He needs a pillow at night. Then, let's go back. Kasher tziva Hashem et Moshe. Every parasha, every paragraph over here ends with Kasher tziva Hashem et Moshe. Says the Baal HaTurim, there's 18 or 19 times that it says Kasher tziva Hashem et Moshe. Remez against the 18 berachot of Shmones. You know Kasher tziva Hashem et Moshe. Like Hashem commanded again and again. It says Kasher tziva Hashem et Moshe. Kasher tziva Hashem et Moshe. Before every paragraph, right? Samachopei, Kasher tziva, Kasher tziva. Before Shishi and Shvi, it says it like in Pasuk Yutet, then Chaf Aleph, then Chaf Gimal, then Chaf Hey, then Chaf Zayin. Every 2 Pesukim, again Kasher tziva Hashem et Moshe. Come on, it's enough. Usually when, what is there's a word from the Hasidic Rebbe's, Anochi Omed Ben Hashem uBenechem. It's a pity, this one you have to hold to David. Anochi Omed Ben Hashem uBenechem. Moshe Rabbeinu says, I am the middleman between you and God. Al Pi Chasidut, they explain it. What does Anochi mean? No, Anochi Omed Ben Hashem uBenechem. I am standing between you and God. Now, there was a story that Rabbi Kalina, he was a student of the Maggid of Mezrich. The Maggid of Mezrich was the Yoresh from the Baal Shem Tov. And Chassidut really spread from the Maggid of Mezrich that he had 7 students. Noam Elimelech, I think, was one, the Chernobyl, the Rav Levi Yitzchak Berditchev. He had 7 students. One of them was Rabbi Kalina. And it was time Rabbi Kalin felt he was moving on. Or he was getting a job somewhere, or he was negotiating a job. So he went to say goodbye to his Rebbe. And when he knocked on the door, he said, who is it? So he said, Ich, it's me. Like they say in English, it's me. His Rebbe didn't open the door. He said it a second time. Who's knocking at the door? He said, it's me. Didn't answer the door. It's the third time. He says, when you say Smich, there's only one Anochi. We know there's Anochi, Hashem Elokecha. The only one who says it's me means that you have a certain pride in who you are. That's only God. Your name is Aaron. Your name is Gabriel. Your name is Yaakov. There's no ich. There's no me. Says the Chassidut, when a person is lacking in connection with God, Anochi Omed Ben Hashem uBenechem. What's blocking a person's connection to Hashem?
Himself.
When he feels, I did it. Yeah, you know you made a good deal the other week. Who did you give credit to? Oh, yeah. Well, we all do. Let's be real. You come up with a good chidush. Who gets the credit? I put the work into it. I get the credit from it. Klal Yisrael, when they built the Mishkan, it says they were chacham leiv. They were persistent. It says where they know how to be how to sew all these complex, beautiful rugs, and they didn't go to Persia. They weren't in Iran yet. So how did they know how to do it? So it says chachmat lev. They were motivated, so they were able to do it. So what does a person think after he makes a nice rug, and they're going to put it on top of the Beit HaMikdash? You're going to go crazy. What are you going to say? I'm a smart guy. He's still an Erlich. You really think that you're not shrewd in business? You're not a smart guy? Yeah, of course it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but you put it also your part into it, right? There's nobody doesn't think like that. He's a good cook. He's a top cook, top caterer. So he says, you know what? I'm a top caterer. I'm a smart guy. But to say, I'll call you Shamayim, you know, I also know what I'm doing. He's a good barber. The guy knows how to give haircuts to a different level, and then he's going to go and say, you know what? Who gets the credit? Hashem. Who you fool? Says the Pasuk 18 times, says the Balaturim, it was all Kasher Tziva Hashem et Moshe. It was all with the commandment of God. It was all with the power of Hashem gave us the power because He commanded us to do it. And without that, we wouldn't have been able to succeed. And they believed it. It says in the Pasuk that Hashem, it says Moshe Rabbeinu, Vayakem Moshe HaMishkan. Moshe was the one who put up the Mishkan. And then the Pasuk right before it that says, listen to the beauty. Vahi b'chodesh harishon b'shana hashenit. It was on the first month of the second year. That's Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Why do we say Tachanun for the next 12 days? Because this was the time of building the Mishkan. Right? This is the week. Parashat HaChodesh, and it's very funny that the parasha of the week and the Haftarah all happened when? This week. This is the only time, almost, that you read the parasha with the Haftarah and the whole story happened that week. The story of Amalek didn't happen that week. Even the story of Purim didn't happen. The story of Purim happened when? Pesach time. The second day of Pesach was when, right? When did the story of Purim happen? Second day of Pesach, right? You know that? What did they say that was the only time the Jewish people didn't have Leil HaSeder? Right?
16th of Nisan with Haman.
No, before that. No, it was before that. That was the party. The first party was the first day of Pesach. The second day of Pesach was the second party. And that was the day that Haman was killed. Haman was killed on the second day of Pesach. What did she say? I'm going to go into the king. Lech kenos et kol haYehudim, and don't eat day and night. Which was the day and night? Pesach. Just for a good thought. So as everybody says Pesach, why didn't she wait till after Pesach? What? Why didn't you wait till after Pesach? Says Rabbi Yitzchak Baditchev.
It's a time for Geulah.
What?
It's a time for Geulah.
But it's a mitzvah d'oraita to fast, to eat matzah, maror, everything. And what are they doing? Says Rabbi Yitzchak Baditchev, guys, you gotta listen to this. Rabbi Yitzchak Baditchev said, God, you want to kill the Jews? I'm going to show you what it means to not have the Jewish people. No Leil HaSeder. You know what kind of tikkunim does in the world that Jews sit down to Leil HaSeder? You know what kind of turnover it makes in the whole world? There was one of the tzaddikim that he said to him, you don't understand, I was by my father's seder 35 years. His father was a big tzaddik. So you tell that to somebody, what happens by the seder? You eat matzah, you eat maror, you drink cups of wine, and you do mitzvot, that's it. But if a person really knew Leil Kadesh Achag, the influences, first of all, you were coming to that in 2 weeks, right? People like try to rush the seder. Well, I want to ask you something. Does anybody want to rush their wedding? What? Depends who you ask. Most people, they want Sheva Brachas. Nobody wants Sheva Brachas to be over. They want to live Sheva Brachas their whole life. What? Sheva Brachas, they want to live their whole life. Right? But it has to come to an end. Why Leila said that you have it, Azai, you get close to Hashem, the influences that it has on the children. You should know something. The biggest influence that a person has on his kids is Leil HaSeder. You know why? Because if Hashem gives you a mitzvah, that's the night that you're supposed to influence your children, the biggest power comes that night. There's one time a year you're supposed to learn with your kid Torah, but the mitzvah, Vigadatam means stories. What's the difference between learning and stories? When you learn with your child, you're teaching him Torah. Vigadatam, when you're telling him stories, what are you saying? You're teaching life lessons. Vigadatam, Vigadata is b'derech sipur. What do we call we don't say, we tell them Yitziat Mitzrayim. We say sipur. What does sipur mean? A story. A story is what gives you, I know a few people that they go to, let's say their father-in-laws, and they go to situations, and they say Divrei Torah on the Haggadah. Lamdish. Machloket, matzah like this, maror like this, how you eat it, how you enjoy it. And he says, over here, in my house, tell you the truth, we don't say no Divrei Torah. We only say Divrei Torah that goes into the concept of saying the story. That means something that brings out the story, what Hashem did for us, and how Hashem did it for us. To bring us closer to Hashem, that we talk about. Because this is the night to instill into children the Yir'at Shamayim that's going to last them their whole lives. And I believe, and I really believe, that people that invest in the Seder, and tell you have a big boy, he understands. How old's your oldest?
Boy?
Yeah.
3.
No, even your girl.
6.
6. So she's already by the border that she understands what you tell her. Do you know that somebody told me, he says, the biggest mitzvah in his house, Erev Pesach, is what?
Kids.
To take a nap. The biggest mitzvah in his house, Erev Pesach, is everybody has to take a nap.
Yeah, well, we have to finish.
What?
We have to finish by a certain time. We can do it after, right? You're saying we can do it after?
You could do it after a... And I want to tell you something, in a lot of years, I make just the matzah before Chatzot. Because other people have the opportunity to do it after, or you start right away. But the worst thing is to have pressure that night. The worst thing is when you're living with a pressured seder. Then the whole seder is stressful.
It's not a Seder.
Then it's not seder.
They're pushing,
No beseder.
they're pushing shofar around.
They're no beseder. They're pushing, and then the only thing that we do rush a little bit with is the meal. The meal we don't take care. Some people feel that the meal is the most important thing. I tell my kids and my wife everything. You have a meal the whole Yom Tov. There's only 2 nights of Seder. In Israel, 1 night of Seder. It's holiday. Listen, the main point is the Seder. Eating the meal is the Rabbanan. Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim is the Oraita. So usually 1 night I do make even the Afikoman, but to finish the whole Seder, if you think about it, I'm not the posek. There are poskim that say that you have to, but you know what it means that we sing Hallel after the Birkat HaMazon for a half an hour? We sing all the pieces of Hallel. A lot of people, because they want to make Chatzot, we're finishing the Seder, all of a sudden they're in a rush, right? I never heard of somebody in a rush when he's having you sing Odechak Min HaMetzar, we sing Ma'ashiv, you sing Hashem Zecharanu, but what do people do? Allah.
So that becoming not so important?
I didn't say that. I said we never passed Chatzot for matzah. We try to usually make the Afikoman also before Chatzot. But if let's say the second half, 1 night I can't do it, I'd rather be Mekayim the mitzvah d'oraita or Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim. One is a d'oraita. I'm not. This is not something for public knowledge. I don't know what you call it. They should erase it. Rabbi Bruni, my Rabbi, when he would say something like this that he could get into trouble with, he says, stop the recording, and then he says it, and then he goes right. I'm not talking, ask your Rabbi the halakha. But I'm just saying, at least the feeling should be there. The feeling should be there that this is 1 night a year. So says of Levi Yitzchak Baditchev, I don't like the term, but I'll stick it to you. God, you want to see how it's going to look without the Jewish people making Leila Seder? I'll show you how it feels. That's why she did it like that. But anyway, this is the only parasha of the Parashat HaShavua and the Maftir, and it doesn't always even fall out like that. Because this coming week is B'Chodesh HaRishon, Sunday. Why don't we say Tachanun the whole month? Does anybody know why we don't say Tachanun? Because once most of the month is without Tachanun, so we don't say Tachanun, right? Isn't that the halacha? Between 12 days of what do you call it? Between 12 days of the putting the Mishkan together, and 8 days of Pesach. Erev Pesach is also a holiday. Why is Erev Pesach a holiday?
Fast.
No, why was Erev Pesach a holiday, guys? What did they do on Erev Pesach?
Shut the lamp.
Korban Pesach. It's Chag also you don't say. So if you make a cheshbon, it's 8, 9, 10. With 12 is 22. 22 was already Much more than half, and you don't say Tachanu the whole time. Says the pasuk like this. Vahi b'chodesh harishon v'shana shebechad hachodesh hukam hamishkan. The mishkan was hukam. What does hukam mean? It happened by itself. Hikimu et hamishkan means they built the mishkan. Hukam hamishkan means in Hebrew, you know Hebrew. It came by itself. What does the pasuk have to say? Vayake Moshe et hamishkan. Who put it up? Who did it? Moshe Rabbeinu did it or Hashem did it? So we know that Moshe Rabbeinu had a hard time doing it. And what did Hashem do? He just went like this, and Hashem went up. So really, Hukam HaMishkan means it was done by God, not by man. But who did Hashem give the credit to? Moshe Rabbeinu.
Because he tried.
So you see, if a person lives that Hashem is doing it, and he does the work, there's Gemara that says like this. The Gemara says, the Midrash. It says, Oz Hadal Levusha. Says the Midrash. I'm going to go to the main part of the Midrash. It says right before Rabbi Abau. It's in Midrash in Parashat Chayei Sarah. Right before Rabbi Abau was passing away, Kadamach Rabbi Abau, when he was about to die, Chevule, they showed him Yud Gimal Naharin Afar Simon, 13 rivers of Afar Simon, which is beautiful smelling, beautiful waters. So he asked them, Ilen Demai, who are these rivers for? This is like a luxury, you know, like they always had nice streams coming through, with a nice garden. Who's getting such a beautiful Amru Ledidach, it's for you. Amalahon, he said to him, Iled Abahu, these are for me, Abahu. Vani Amarti, and I thought to myself, Larik Yagati Letoel Vehevel Kochi Kalit. I thought I was working for nothing. And I'm getting such a reward. And then the Midrash says, Vaita. Vayaviu et HaMishkan el Moshe. They brought the Mishkan to Moshe. And this is the same thing as the story of Rabbi Abau. What is the comparison between the story of Rabbi Abau? They say like this to Mefarshim. Rabban Segel, Shalita, says a beautiful explanation. A guy went and he made a phone call for somebody, let's say, Achnasat Kala. He made one phone call. The guy on the other side of the line says, you know what? How much is the wedding? $30,000. Okay? Not a Bukharian wedding. $30,000. Don't get me started on that topic, man.
Flowers, $30,000.
Right, 25. The flowers alone on average wedding. What? Crazy. Well, he gives him, he says, okay, you know what? I did a good deal this week. I made nice money. You called me up the right time. I'm giving you my maaser, $30,000. There are people like that. By the way, there are people that are very generous in giving to Hashem. He gives them a thing. Now, how much effort did the guy that made the phone call give?
No.
It took him 5 minutes. What kind of reward? Who made him that he should go call this guy? Who made him that he should do it? So Rabbi Abau thought that when he's gonna go and make this phone call for the guy to give him the charity, he's not gonna get rewarded for that. Because he says that he didn't think that that's him. Says the Medrash that you know what he's gonna get rewarded for? He's gonna get rewarded for giving the guy $30,000. Could you imagine the reward of getting $30,000? Which one would you rather? The reward of the $30,000 or the reward of the phone call? The reward of the what?
The reward of the
$30,000. But who really did that $30,000?
The engineer.
Hashem made you call him up. In your eyes, it was Hashem made you call him up. Or you didn't even put in any effort. Hashem is going to give you the reward like you gave the $30,000. When do you get that? Only when it's Kasher Tziva Hashem et Moshe. I'm doing it because God told me. I know that I'm a shliach of God. So Hashem says, oh, you know all your power comes from me? So then, even if it gets done, you're going to get full reward. But Moshe Rabbeinu says, Hukama Mishkan. He knew that he couldn't do it. And he said, everything is you, Hashem. But Hashem said, oh, you did a little hishtadlus? What does the Pasuk say right after that? Vayakim Moshe Mishkan. Who put it up? Moshe Rabbeinu. That means who got the reward for putting up the Mishkan? Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu got the whole reward. But who did it? Hashem. If a person realizes that there's no Anochi, like they say from the Chassidut, Anochi omed ben Hashem uben echem. That there's a me. I did this, I did that. You should know something. The older you get, the more allergic you get to people that talk about themselves so old. It's, if you think about it, it's really degrading for a person to talk about himself. I did this and I did that. All these guys that say that I invested in this, I did this business, I don't care what he says. Even when it comes to business, I can't handle it. You say we could discuss what you're doing, but there's a guy that certain people they put a big focus on the I. You know what I'm talking about? You never met such guys. Always what?
I have a lot of these friends.
Oh, this is something that you know what I'm saying.
I have
What?
a lot.
That's not what I read. I'm saying it's all about me. I told him it doesn't have to be every time that there's a discussion about. If you realize somebody goes to you, oh, I knew him very well. I was very close to him. The guy just died. Give him his respect. The whole death, the whole talking about the guy is the I. I knew him, I did. If you realize we are so self-focused, it's beyond comprehension. But that's even not so big. There are certain people that they come into a conversation, all of a sudden they take it over, they talk about themselves. That's when Hashem says, then you don't get the credit. If you think it's I, no credit. When you think it's Hashem, Kashetziva Hashem es Moshe, Kashetziva Hashem es Moshe, Moshe Rabbeinu, every single thing they did, not only in the putting up the Mishkan. What happens when a person prays? Now we're getting to the Balaturim. Balaturim says 18 times, 18 berachot. 18 times, how many limbs are there in the back, in the Shedra? 18. Also, 18, that's why you go bow down. What is the connection? Balaturim always says things, but he doesn't explain the connection. You know what the connection is? When you go to Shmoneh Esrei, what is the real part of Tefillah? What is the part of Tefillah? What is the main lesson of davening?
Acknowledging everything comes from Hashem.
That everything comes from Him. That everything comes from God. The real message of Tefillah is everything comes from Hashem. The minute a person knows that everything comes from Hashem, he gets it. We have to work to get to that level. What is Tefillah? That's what is the Mishkan. You know, the Jewish people, they worked so hard. They all brought in, they all brought their hearts, they brought their lives, they brought anything. They kept on bringing money. So what would they walk away saying? It's me. No. This is all God's commandment. We're doing it for God. It's God told us that we're doing it for God. It's all God. It's all God. Then you get the reward. You want Hashem to answer your tefillah? The way Hashem is going to answer a person's tefillah is when he realizes that it all comes from Hashem. And when you bend down and you say the beracha, you take the 18 limbs and you bend it down, you know what you're doing? I'm saying I'm humbling myself to you. God, I know it comes from you. And I want to say, end up with a story. The Belz Aruv, the Sar Shalom of Belz, when he built his Beis Medrash in the city of Belz, he was on top of every single move. And what he used to do is, and people used to come to check it out, and and every time they would come in, they would leave an envelope. They would leave an envelope. There was a time when he would go to pray, he would have the box of money there, but he would tell one of the Hasidim to overlook the money, to make sure nobody takes it. He wasn't irresponsible. You leave a lot of money there. So he used to do that. One day he says to the Belzer, I have one question to ask you. Every time I come there, nobody comes and gives envelopes. And every time the rabbi's there, people bring envelopes. So he says to him, let me tell you something. It says that when the Jewish people were building the Bet HaMikdash, it says that there was enough. And Moshe gives out a Vayaviru kol b'machaneh ish v'isha al ya'asu od melacha letrumat hakodesh. They said we have too much stuff. So what was their announcement? If they would say, if I would tell you, we're making a can sale, we're making a can collection for the UJA, right? So we have enough cans. What should be the poster, the WhatsApp message? Stop bringing cans. What does it say in the pasuk? Man and lady, od al yasu od melacha. Don't keep on sewing. I don't understand. What do you mean? Don't keep on sewing. Just don't bring the stuff. Says the Belz Aruv. When they were doing the work to prepare themselves for the Mishkan, they were so excited and they were doing it with such simcha that it caused people to want to give them money. When you see somebody doing Avodat Hashem and he's happy to do it, you want to be part of it. So you're going to give him money to support him. Says the Belz Aruv, you know why? When they see me working and they see how excited I am in building the Beis Medrash, they come and they get also excited and they want to give more money. If you're just going to stand there and watch the box, nobody's coming with excitement, so they're not going to give money. He says Moshe Rabbeinu had to stop the source of why the money was coming in. You know what the source was coming in? The source of coming in the money was from the excitement of doing the melacha. The excitement of doing the melacha comes beracha. A person goes to and he goes and wants to build a shul, build a koil, build anything, do any mitzvah. You go to buy a etrog, and you see somebody. I go to buy a etrog, and I see a guy who gets crazy about his beautiful etrog. What happens to me?
Contagious.
What?
Contagious.
Contagious. I want to get a beautiful etrog. You go to a guy, and he says in the middle of Main Street, and he's buying a etrog in the street, and he sees it for $35, and he starts bargaining with the guy, and he says, "Why is it so expensive?" What does it do to me? I don't want to pay for it. But if a guy goes into the store and he says, "Oh, this is a geschmack etrog, the beautiful etrog," yeah, you could do the same mitzvah.
That's a good customer.
What?
That's a good customer.
That's a good customer. But you should know something. Even a suit. You see, you got this, oh wow, I got such beautiful. Then you want a suit. Oh, I got a suit, I got it $150, the clothes out, this, that. You don't get it. Then you go and tell the same guy the same suit, I paid $350. Wow, it's a suit. He wants the suit also. That's the same thing with a mitzvah. When they came, they were kashet. We were happy that we're doing what Hashem wants, what Hashem wants, what Hashem wants. Yehi ratzon that we should be zocheh in it. Somebody could say Kaddish over here. Rabbi Hananiah ben Akashia Omer Ratzah Kadosh Baruch Hu